You know what hope looks like? It looks like a basket of tomatoes carried to market before sunrise. Small, organic, no pesticides, grown by hands that don't cut corners. That's Tien. That's how she starts this day. She's up early, talking to her cat Mew like he understands every word. When I get back, I'll buy you food, she says, closing the gate. The tomatoes aren't perfect. They're small, but they're honest. 15,000 per kilo. She sits at the market and waits. People come. They weigh. They haggle. A bit small, aren't they? One woman says. Tien smiles. They're small, but they're delicious. That's her pitch. That's her truth. By noon, she's sold everything. 130,000 dong. She buys cat food. She counts the bills twice, folding them carefully into her pocket. It's a good day, a simple day. But across town, Jack's day is going differently. He's sitting in a coffee shop, waiting. His assistant Fook is nervous. They're here to sign a contract, a big one, a homestay project, international scale. Jack's company prepared everything. Contracts, projections, timelines, all of it meticulous. Then his old classmate walks in. Min, director now. 4 cars, 4 apartments. Life's been good to him. Jack, Min stares. You came by motorbike. Jack sold his car. Financial difficulties, family issues. He doesn't hide it. Life has its ups and downs, he says. Min's assistant whispers loud enough to hear. I heard his company isn't what it used to be. Jack doesn't flinch. He puts the contract on the table. Here are the documents we prepared. Please take a look. Min doesn't look. Not really. He glances at Jack's worn shoes, his sweaty shirt. Before meeting you, I had high expectations, Min says. But now seeing you like this, I'll need to reconsider. He leaves. Doesn't even open the folder. Jack sits there. Fook is quiet. They both know what just happened. Is that how society is now? Fook asks later, voice shaking. Is appearance really that important? Jack doesn't answer. He drinks his water. He's thinking about something else. About all the years between then and now. About how success looks on paper and how it feels in your chest. But here's the thing. That's when Jack sees her. Tien, walking down the street, empty basket swinging. He pulls over. Get in the car. I'll take you to get something to drink. She climbs on the back of his motorbike. The motorbike Min mocked an hour ago, and they go for sweet soup, black bean and tofu pudding. She tells him about her morning, the tomatoes, the customers, the cat food she bought. Jack listens, really listens. Her day was good, simple, real. Then his phone rings. The landlady, the property near Low River. I'll be there in 10 minutes, he says. He looks at Tien. Come with me? She nods. They leave the cat food at the shop. We'll pick it up later. The land is an hour away, near the river, 1 hectare. An old soldier's house abandoned. Wooden beams rotting at the base. Fruit trees overgrown. A well, a beehive. The landlady is direct. Someone offered me 400 million. I didn't sell. Now I want 450, maybe 500. Jack walks the property. Tien follows. They see the 3-room house, the view of the river, the trees planted decades ago. It's quiet here, Tien says. Quieter than our farm. Jack nods. He's thinking about Uncle Dung. The old man wanted a place to settle, close to family. Under 300 million, he'd said. This property costs more, much more, but it's beautiful. They stand by the river. The sun is setting. Jack says something he read in a book once. People say watching the sunset with the one you love is the most beautiful thing. Tien doesn't answer. She just stands there with him. This period is very difficult for us, Jack says quietly. But as long as you're by my side, I believe we'll overcome everything. She squeezes his hand. They leave. They stop at the market. Vermicelli, grilled pork, homemade sausages. 80,000 total. Tien has changed from selling tomatoes that morning. At home, Jack lights the charcoal stove. Tien boils soapberry for washing her hair. He marinates the meat with salt, fish sauce, pepper, onion, garlic. She picks herbs from the garden, coriander, basil, all of it fragrant and alive. Jack grills. Tien washes her hair. The smell of roasted soapberry mixes with charcoal smoke and herbs. Then they sit down to eat. No rice tonight, just vermicelli and grilled meat. The dipping sauce has lemon, chili, garlic. Everything's hot. Everything's good. It's delicious, Tien says. Jack nods. If you like it, I'll make it for you occasionally. They talk about the land, about Uncle Dung, about whether he'll choose the cheaper property or this one by the river. I think he'll choose the 200 million house, Jack says. He said he wanted something under 300. But Jack's voice sounds uncertain, like he's already imagining something else. Like he's already seeing Uncle Dung by that river, sitting under those fruit trees, safe and settled and home. They finish eating. The herbs taste like the garden. The sausages taste like care. And somewhere between the meal and the conversation something shifts. Jack's thinking about that coffee shop. About Min's dismissal. About the contract nobody looked at. But here now, with Tien, tomato seller, herb grower, believer, he's not thinking about any of that. He's thinking about the land by the river. He's thinking about home. Here's what Jack doesn't tell Tien that night. The contract with Min, it was supposed to save everything. The homestay project, $10 billion investment, international scale, would have stabilized his company for the next 3 years. Payroll, suppliers, the construction crew waiting for work, one signature, that's all it would have taken. But Min didn't even open the folder. Jack washes dishes while Tien hangs herbs to dry. The cat, Yellow, whines around his ankles. Everything smells like lemongrass and charcoal. The kitchen is warm. You're quiet tonight, Tien says. Just thinking, Jack says. About the land? About a lot of things. She doesn't push. That's her way. She trusts him to tell her when he's ready. He doesn't tell her. Not yet. The next morning, Jack calls Uncle Dung. The old man answers on the second ring. Jack, how are you, son? I found some properties, Jack says. 2 of them. I think you should come see. What are the prices? One's 200 million, 2 hectares. Grapefruit trees already planted. The other one's 450 to 500, smaller. But it's by Low River. Silence on the other end. Uncle, Jack says. I told you, Uncle Dung says slowly. Under 300. I don't have more than that, Jack. You know that. I know. But just come see them, both, then decide. The old man agrees. They'll go this weekend. Jack hangs up. He stares at his phone. 450 million. Maybe 500. That's what the soldiers' land costs. Uncle Dung has 300, maximum. The math doesn't work. But here's what nobody knows yet. Jack's already made a decision. He just hasn't admitted it to himself. That afternoon, Fook calls. Uncle, I checked with the other partners. Nobody's responding. I think after what happened with Min, word got around. Jack closes his eyes. It's fine, keep trying. Should we lower our rates? No, our work is good. The price is fair. But Uncle, Fook, trust me. He hangs up. He sits in his office, really just a desk in the corner of their small house, and looks at the numbers. Company account, personal savings, the money from selling the car. If he buys that land by the river for Uncle Dung, there won't be enough left for payroll next month. The construction crew will have to wait. The suppliers will have to wait. Everything will have to wait. But Uncle Dung won't have to wait. Uncle Dung will have a home. Jack opens his laptop. He writes an email to the landlady. Subject line. Regarding the property near Law River. He types, I'd like to make an offer. Then he stops. His hands hover over the keyboard. What's he doing? This is insane. This is financial suicide. One old man's dream versus an entire company's survival. The choice is obvious. Except it's not. Because here's what Jack learned a long time ago. Back when he was still chasing success the normal way. Back when he thought money and respect were the same thing. They're not. Min has money. 4 cars. 4 apartments. Min also has contempt. For old classmates who ride motorbikes. For people who sweat in coffee shops. For anyone whose worth can't be measured in vehicles and real estate. Jack could have been Min. He was on that path once. But then he met Tien, tomato seller, believer. The woman who counts her earnings twice and buys cat food first. She changed everything. Now Jack grows vegetables. He grills meat over charcoal. He washes Tien's hair with boiled soapberry. He measures worth differently. And Uncle Dung raised him, fed him, taught him what family means. So the choice isn't obvious at all. Jack finishes the email. I'd like to make an offer of 450 million. I'll need 2 weeks to arrange the funds. Please let me know if this works. He hits send, then he closes the laptop and goes outside. Tien is in the garden, pulling weeds between tomato plants. Yellow the cat is stalking a grasshopper. I sent an offer for the riverland, Jack says. Tien looks up. You did, but Uncle Dung said. I know what he said. Jack, can you afford? I'll figure it out. She stands up, brushing dirt from her knees. She studies his face. This is the company money, isn't it? He doesn't answer. Jack, it's my decision, he says. The company is mine. The money is mine. And Uncle Dung, he's family. What about your workers? What about Fook? I'll take care of them too. I always do. How? I don't know yet, but I will. Tien shakes her head. Not in disapproval. In something else. Wonder maybe. Or fear. She steps closer. You're crazy, she says softly. I know. This could ruin everything. I know. But you're doing it anyway. Yes. She kisses him. Quick and gentle. Then she goes back to weeding. Jack stands there, watching her work. Yellow catches the grasshopper. The sun is hot, the tomatoes are ripening. And somewhere in the city, Min is probably getting into one of his 4 cars, going to one of his 4 apartments, living his successful life. Jack doesn't envy him, not even a little bit. Because Jack has this, dirt under his fingernails, a woman who believes in him, and a choice he can live with. That evening, the landlady calls back. 450 million is acceptable, she says, but I need the deposit within 1 week. 50 million, can you do that? Jack looks at his bank app. Current balance, 63 million. That's company funds. Payroll is due in 12 days. I can do that, he says. Good, I'll prepare the paperwork. He hangs up. He transfers 50 million to her account. Balance remaining, 13 million. Not enough for payroll, not enough for anything really, but enough for hope. Jack walks outside, finds Tien. It's done, he says. We bought the land. She stops walking. We, for Uncle Dung, but we'll help him fix it up, make it beautiful, plant vegetables, maybe even live nearby someday. Jack, how will you? I'll sign another contract. Somewhere, someone will say yes, they have to. And if they don't, then I'll sell something else, Jack thinks. Another asset. Maybe the farm equipment, maybe the house, but he doesn't say that. Instead he says, then we'll grow more tomatoes. Tien laughs. It's a sad sound, but also hopeful. 15,000 per kilo, she says. Organic, no pesticides. We'll need to sell a lot of tomatoes, Jack. Then we will. They stand there as the sun sets. The same sun that set over Low River yesterday. The same sky that watched Jack get dismissed in that coffee shop. Tomorrow Jack will call Uncle Dung with the news. Tomorrow he'll figure out how to make payroll with 13 million dong. Tomorrow he'll probably panic. But tonight he made a choice. A crazy, financially irresponsible, completely irrational choice. He chose home over profit, family over reputation, love over logic. And somehow, standing here with Tien, it feels like the smartest decision he's ever made. Saturday morning comes fast. Jack picks up Uncle Dung at dawn. The old man climbs onto the motorbike slowly. He's 72, knees stiff but his eyes are bright. 2 properties, Uncle Dung says. You said 2. That's right, Jack says. We'll see both, you choose. They ride in silence. Tien stayed home to tend the garden. This is between you two, she'd said. He needs to choose his own home. The first property is the cheaper one. 200 million, 2 hectares. The owner is waiting by the gate, a middle-aged man in a polo shirt, eager to sell. Here's the main house, he says, walking them through. 3 bedrooms. The roof is new. And look, grapefruit trees, lemon trees, all mature. You'll have fruit within months. Uncle Dung walks slowly through the property. He touches the trees, tests the soil, checks the well. It's good land, he says to Jack. Very good. And the price is right, Jack says. 200, within your budget. The old man nods. He's smiling. I could be happy here. Should we make an offer? Uncle Dung looks around one more time, at the neat rows of citrus trees, the sturdy house, the practical, sensible, affordable dream. Let me see the other one first, he says. They thank the owner and leave. The second property is an hour away. Jack doesn't talk during the ride. His hands are tight on the handlebars. He's thinking about the 50 million deposit he already paid. The 13 million left in the company account. The payroll due in 9 days. What if Uncle Dung chooses the cheaper land? What if Jack spent 50 million on a deposit for a property nobody wants? They arrive at Low River just before noon. The landlady is there, same as before. You brought someone, she says. My uncle, Jack says. Uncle Dung, this is the owner. Former soldier, the woman says, shaking the old man's hand. Served 20 years. This was my retirement land. But I moved closer to my daughter. Time to let it go. Uncle Dung bows slightly. Thank you for your service. They walk the property together. It's different in daylight with Uncle Dung here. Jack sees it through the old man's eyes now. The overgrown fruit trees aren't neglect, they're abundance. Wild, yes, but alive. The rotting beams aren't decay, they're repair projects. Fixable. The well isn't old, it's established, reliable. And the river. Uncle Dung stands at the edge of the property, looking at the water. Low River runs wide and slow here, catching sunlight like scattered coins. He doesn't say anything for a long time. Uncle, Jack says quietly. My father used to take me fishing, Uncle Dung says, on a river just like this. Before the war, before everything changed. His voice cracks slightly. I haven't thought about that in 40 years. The landlady excuses herself, gives them space. Uncle Dung walks to the old house, touches the wooden beams, looks inside at the 3 rooms, the furniture left behind, the life that used to happen here. How much, he asks. Jack hesitates. 450 million. The old man's face doesn't change. He nods slowly. That's a lot of money. Yes, more than I have. I know. Uncle Dung looks at Jack, really looks at him. You already bought it, didn't you? Jack's throat tightens. I made a deposit. 50 million. The rest is due in 2 weeks. With what money? Company money. Jack. The old man's voice is stern now. Teacher voice. Father voice. You can't do that. You have workers. You have Fook. You have responsibilities. You're my responsibility too. I'm an old man. I can wait. I can find something smaller, cheaper. This is the one, Jack says. His voice is stronger than he feels. Uncle, this is your home. I know it is. You know it is. The moment you saw that river, your whole face changed. That doesn't matter. You need that money for what? For a contract that fell through? For partners who judge me by my shoes? Jack shakes his head. I spent 10 years chasing contracts, building a company, trying to look successful. And you know what? The moment things got hard, everyone disappeared. Everyone except you, and Tien. That's not a reason to be reckless. It's exactly the reason. Jack steps closer. You taught me that family comes first. You said that when I was 15 and you took me in after my parents died. You said it when I wanted to quit school and you made me finish. You said it every single time I forgot what mattered. Uncle Dung's eyes are wet now. So yes, Jack continues, I used company money. And yes, I might struggle with payroll. And yes, this is probably insane. But uncle, I'd rather fail with integrity than succeed with contempt. I'd rather grow tomatoes with Tien and fix up this house with you than sign 100 contracts with people like Min. The old man is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, the beams need replacing. Jack blinks. What? The support beams. They're rotten at the base. We'll need new wood. Good wood, not cheap stuff. And the roof probably leaks. We should check before the rainy season. Uncle, are you saying? I'm saying this house needs work. Uncle Dung's voice is gruff, but his eyes are smiling. A lot of work. You sure you have time to help an old man renovate? I'll make time. And Tien? She'll help too? She already said yes. Uncle Dung nods. He looks back at the river one more time. Then I guess this is home. Jack can't speak. He just nods. They walk back to find the landlady, sign the preliminary papers, arrange the final payment date, 2 weeks from today. On the ride home, Uncle Dung sits behind Jack on the motorbike, quiet. Then he says, you know you're crazy, right? Tien said the same thing. Smart woman. I know, but you're also my nephew, my son, and I'm proud of you. Jack's eyes blur. He doesn't trust his voice, so he just drives. When they get back, Tien is waiting. She sees their faces and knows immediately. The river house, she says. The river house, Jack confirms. She hugs Uncle Dung. Then Jack, when do we start fixing it up? Next weekend, Uncle Dung says. If Jack hasn't been arrested for financial irresponsibility by then. They laugh. It's a good sound. That night, the three of them eat dinner together. Tien made vegetable soup and rice. Simple food, cheap food, the kind of meal they'll be eating a lot of in the coming months. Uncle Dung raises his cup of tea. To new homes, he says. To family, Tien adds. Jack looks at them both. His uncle, who raised him. His love, who believes in him. And somewhere an hour away, a broken down house by a river, waiting to become whole again. He thinks about Min, probably eating dinner in one of his 4 apartments, probably successful, probably respected, probably alone. To choosing what matters, Jack says. They drink. And outside the evening settles over the farm. The tomatoes ripen on the vine. Yellow the cat hunts in the garden. The charcoal stove cools. Tomorrow Jack will have to figure out payroll with 13 million dong. Tomorrow he'll have to explain to Fook why they can't afford supplies. Tomorrow reality will catch up. But tonight he has this. A table, a meal, 2 people who love him, and a piece of land by a river that's going to become home. Sometimes hope doesn't look like success. Sometimes it looks like a broken house and an impossible choice, and 2 weeks to figure out the rest. Sometimes it looks like love winning over logic. And sitting here, with these people, in this moment, Jack wouldn't change a single thing.